Elizabeth Chappell, a lifelong entrepreneur who finally found my niche. After years of new ideas and jumping from business to business, I figured out how to turn a craft into a successful career. In 2016, I started a monthly subscription box for Quilters. That little startup has grown into a thriving, multiple six-figure business that I am so proud of. As a published author, designer of fabrics and patterns being sold throughout the world, my favorite thing to do is to teach others how to grow a career of their dreams. Each week, you'll hear from me or from other guests who are creative entrepreneurs, so you can learn exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a career that's more rewarding and successful than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to turn your craft into a career that you love, I am so excited you're here. Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast.
Well, listeners, you are in for a treat. This was such a fun episode for me to record. We have Jessica of Sew Tites on the podcast today. I'm a brand new customer of Sew Tites, and I instantly was like, oh my, I love this. Let's have you on the podcast. And so here we are. We have Jessica of Sew Tites here on the podcast to share how this company came to be, what it is growing into, and kind of the future of it. There were so many nuggets on here, things that I did not know about business. You're going to love this one. So buckle up and let's dive in and let me introduce you to Jessica Drain of Sew Tites. Hi, Jessica. It's so fun to have you here on the Craft to Career podcast. Can you tell our listeners, give a little introduction of who you are, what you do in the quilting community?
Yes, I'm Jessica Drain. I'm one of the founding sisters of Sew Tites. We manufacture magnetic sewing pins, our sew magnetic cutting system, and other magnetic notions and products.
Awesome. And love the products. Okay, first of all, I noticed you said sister.
Mm-hmm.
So who's your sister?
My sister is Jamie Trinier. She is my business partner. And she's not as a lot of people recognize her from her quilt shop. She also owns a quilt shop that she purchased in 2021 before we realized this was going to become a thing. And so she owns a quilt shop called Out of Hand Quilting in Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, are you in Canada as well?
I'm not. The company is based in Montana in the United States. And that's where we're from. We're sisters and grew up here. She married a Canadian, so that's why she's there.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's assume our listeners have no idea what Sew Tites is. How would you describe your product?
So Sew Tites are what we call a magnetic sewing pin. That's one line of our products. So they basically have a magnetic top and a metal backing, and it holds things together while you quilt, sew, stitch, or even build for cosplayers type of things.
So, okay. The product that I know is the cutting table. So the little magnetic pins that you have, is that to hold your fabric together and to hold things together so they don't get blown away or disorganized?
Yeah, so we call them, we kind of say they're a way to pin when you can't. So if something's super thick when you're bag making, that's when we first came up with the idea, or you don't want to put a permanent hole through it, like you're using leather, vinyl, cork, that's when they come into play. Or it's away from an edge and you don't want to use a wonder clip. You can't use a wonder clip because the handle's in the middle of the bag or the pocket. That's when you use Sew Tites. People are also now using them for a variety of other things, including machine embroidery instead of thread basting or using spray adhesives. We have a quick load system for long arms. But essentially still the idea is that it's a way to pin without using a pin, or when you can't use a pin.
So this is genius. I actually did not know, because I have some magnetic little things that I got from Sew Tites. My mind is expanding. I'm thinking of all the things, because I used to do spray based. I don't love it anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could use these. And anyhow, I'm very excited.
Yes, yeah.
So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
And can you tell us how this began? It sounds, if I had to guess, let me guess, tell me if this is even accurate. Your sister you've been sewing. Sounds like you make bags. You saw a need. You were like, okay, hold on. And where did it go from there? Is this accurate? Is that even right?
So we were actually a fabric subscription box previously. Our parents knew some people who were making some money online, came to me because I'm a marketer, a graphic designer, and said, we want to start a business. Let's start one.
So your mom and your sister. Okay.
My mom and my sister love to quilt and sew. My sister, it was before she owned a quilt shop. She had always wanted to own a quilt shop. And I thought this could be a way we could kind of all work together and she could kind of start that dream to come true. And that was right when subscription boxes were huge, right? It was in 2016. And so we launched a modern fabric subscription box. And initially we had kits and my sister was sewing a sample for the kit, like a bag. And she was putting a leather handle on the bag. It was away from an edge. She couldn't use clips. She didn't want to put a permanent hole through it with a pin. So she somehow thought of using magnets and then felt like she was pretty ingenious, told me about it. And I was like, I think that's a great idea. Like, she's like, nothing else solves that problem. And then we were kind of like, well, maybe we should market the idea. But we were focused on that business. So we didn't actually do anything with the idea for about a year. And then in 2018, we were going to QuiltCon in Pasadena to promote our subscription box and decided we needed something to hand out to get people to come in the booth. And one of us, I don't remember who, said, maybe we should test market this idea of like the magnets for holding things together. We had no name. I came up with a bunch of ideas of names. We named it really quick. We ordered some samples. They were just ugly black prototypes and took them to QuiltCon with just actually some demos that we still use for bag making. And people started bringing their friends back. We ran out of 1,500, I believe we had in a couple of days of the 4-day show. So we knew we were on to something and went home, put it up a website, ordered, put our first production run into place and then sent them to like our subscribers as well as the friends that we had made in the industry so far. So many people that we would now consider like influencers, but like fabric designers and things like that. And then it just took off from there. So yeah, it was a kind of this miraculous thing. We still didn't like completely believe in the idea, but then we did believe in it, but it was like super high price point. But by August of that same year, we were getting distributors calling us to stock the products. So just kind of took off from there.
That is so cool. Okay, I did not know this. Did you know I had a monthly subscription box that I started in 2016 as well?
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
I wasn't a quilter. It was, I saw a need in whatever. I saw there was a market and I was like, I guess I should learn how to quilt. So anyhow, that's a funny crossover. I didn't realize we had there.
Yeah, that is funny.
So do you have like a trademark, intellectual kind of, have you gone through some legal things to protect, the Sew Tites brand?
Yeah, so we have trademarks on Sew Tites, our brand. So that's something that we've had trademarked from the very beginning, domestically and in Canada and Mexico and some of Europe. And now just as this year, we're expanding it internationally. So pretty much we're almost completely global with that brand. So that name will be protected and kind of ours anywhere in the world as we expand. And then we've also trademarked our like other taglines like magnetic sewing pins, live magnetically, and sew magnetic, which sew magnetic is related to our cutting system. And then we do have a patent on our cutting system as well. So that's just patented in the United States though. So internationally it's not patented, but yeah.
So how did you make these prototypes? Like having a magnetic cutting table, which by the way is genius and I love it, especially the more I'm 44, but my hands are already, like pushing and holding the ruler. It gets slippery, slidey. It hurts a little bit. So I love it. But how did you make this prototype?
Originally, Sew Tites themselves, we had an idea for what we wanted, and we had some knowledge from some books we had read, and just like my sister's an engineer, petroleum engineer by her for most of her career. We just had some knowledge, so we were able to find a manufacturer in China and get some samples made, and then they're actually the same supplier that we're still using. They've been amazing to work with, and then the cutting system part came from, we saw customers using Sew Tites. They were like, it would be amazing if your Sew Tites could hold, like if your mat was like a cutting mat were magnetic. So it could work with your magnets to hold down like paper pattern pieces and stuff for like garment sewing and things. We definitely like that idea. We could make that happen. Turns out it's very hard to source a manufacturer. And then along the way, I was working with my IP attorney. I don't remember exactly, but we discovered that actually the cutting system was a patented idea already. So it was already patented. And so we were kind of discouraged, but our IP attorney said, you can always license it, which, of course, we had not had this background before. So we had no idea. I was like, what do you mean license it? And she said, well, you could reach out to them. And if they let you manufacture it, you can do a contract and then you just pay them a percentage of your sales. So that's what we actually originally did. I called this gal that owned the patent, and I was afraid she was going to think I was a spammer and like a spam call. And so I like vomited what I was trying to tell her very quickly. And she did not hang up on me, and then was just astounded and felt like she said, oh my gosh, I think you're like, you're a gift from God or something like that. And she wanted to talk to her husband. We had a call, and then we did end up licensing the rights to the patent. But then once we launched, because we weren't entirely sure at that point we could source it, we could manufacture it. It turns out, even though it's a very simple idea, like a magnetic cutting mat and rulers with magnets in it, when you source manufacturing, which is what most of the world does, most people don't actually own the factory and the equipment. It's kind of hard to get manufacturers and suppliers to do something different than they already do. So, and we're obviously we were a startup, so we're not looking at huge quantities, and so they don't always want to work with you because you're really a pain in their neck, really, for a very low quantity. But I ended up making some amazing connections just in person through trade shows that got us a manufacturer in China who would consider working with us. And so it took us I can't remember if it took us 6 months or a year of prototyping, but they were great to work with. There's always in product development and manufacturing, there's this interesting point where you actually, when you prototype, don't necessarily get like the final thing, like the true thing. It's just like, this is about what it's going to look like and about what it's going to feel like and about how we had like this tiny mat that we could like test, make sure it was like the durability was good on the cutting mat and it functioned how we wanted. And then it's like, you just kind of have to trust that it's going to actually turn out when you're spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is really scary, but it worked out. And then, the thing about manufacturing too is there's going to be errors. There's going to be things that aren't quite right. And the main thing is you just be a good company of integrity and take care of your customers and fix it and make it right. And then iterate in your manufacturing process to make it better. Because we've had magnets falling out of Sew Tites, magnets falling out of our little boosters that are part of the cutting system, magnets falling out of the rulers. Like magnets are actually very hard to keep in things because they're magnets. And so, yeah, so Google's always been our friend. I mean, we never did anything like this before. So, and have just kind of lucked along, having some really great connections throughout our journey for sure.
So it sounds like a crucial part for you was going to a trade show. Well, for both parts, you went to a trade show, one, and handed out these sample things, and you saw instantly that there was an interest there. And then two, you made connections, and that saved you who knows how much time, but to find somebody. Do you still use that same company in China, the original that made your first prototype?
Yeah, so we have two main suppliers. And we do use the same suppliers so we have a supplier that manufactures our Sew Tites, and we have a supplier that manufactures our cutting system. We have a couple other products as well that we have manufactured through other sources, but our main suppliers are two. And yes, they're the same ones that we've used from the beginning of each. Mm-hmm.
So what other products do you have? Now I'm like, I must have it all. What have we got?
Yeah. So just like small little things actually one of our suppliers is making even those like our whole type folio, which is just like metal pieces with a pattern. We have some little, we call them sticklers. They're little silicone stickers that go on the back of your Sew Tites, like for people who hand sew a lot and maybe they're hand sewing like on their couch or in their car. And then they can, when they're like changing out, if they're EPPing, they can change out their thing without like the metal part sliding off into oblivion or whatever. It just helps create some friction on it. That is with a different supplier. We're currently developing a product that we may use a new supplier as well. We're kind of trying to decide between one of our current suppliers and a new one. And then So we've used 3, I think, in total, and then 4 maybe. So yeah.
Okay. So knowing what you know now, if you were to go back to the beginning, would you do it all over again, or knowing how much work it is? Or are you like, if I had known how much work this was, I don't know if I'd have done it.
Oh, absolutely. I would do it again. This business has been kind of this crazy magical journey that has had hard parts, but really last year was probably the hardest year we've had because of all the tariff chaos that was going on. For the most part, like all of my really hard business lessons happened in my previous business. I was a freelance graphic designer and marketer. And we also just happened to come up with this like very novel idea and very useful idea in a very old industry. And my background being in marketing has allowed us to really look like a very big company from the beginning. Like we had people always thinking we were like a big corporation. And it was like, well, there's 3 of us that work part-time. None of us even are paying ourselves yet. So yeah.
Marketing. I love that's your background. I'm like envious in the best way. I am curious. I'd love to touch on what's the term? Startup funds. So you mentioned like hundreds of thousands of dollars for this product, but I mean, you have to rewind. You started with a subscription box. And the question I get a lot is, how much money should I have in order to start a business? So if you can remember ballpark, how much did it take to start that subscription box? And was there a certain point where you were like investing so much more back into your business, hoping it would pay back, or just kind of the money process behind it?
Yeah. So I had no money, was actually severely in debt at the time, and I was just getting divorced right around the time that we started this. But my sister and my parents both had money that they wanted to put in the company. So what we ended up doing for me to earn my equity, they each put in $20,000, I believe. So $40,000. And then the company actually paid my freelance graphic design and marketing company for my services. So for me to brand the company and put up a website and do all the packaging and all these things for, I think, the first 2 or 3 years. And then I would put half back in. So I would put half of what I got paid back into the company to increase my equity. And then actually so when we launched Sew Tites, we actually had been, I think my parents and my sister maybe my sister had put like a little bit more in, and we were not sure it was going to work. Like it needed so much higher economies of scale to like really turn a profit. We had a friend working for us because I worked a full-time job. My sister worked a full-time job. So we had a friend cutting the fabric for us and doing the subscription box. I mean, it was going to take and we were $40,000 in debt on our credit card. And that seemed huge at the time. And we were just like, this is dumb. Like we might need to just shut everything down. But then we had this like Sew Tites idea that was like, this could make us some money. At the very least, it could at least pay us back and we can shut everything down. And like, I remember when we put the first run of Sew Tites in, it seemed like we were being stupid. Like, it was like, you've already what felt like lost tens of thousands of dollars. And what are you doing now? But it turned out to be a great decision. And then, so after a year of manufacturing Sew Tites, really only distributing them for 6 months, we were like, this is going to at least make our money back. The fabric subscription box is just like spinning our wheels. And so we decided to give up on that and shut it down, which felt like a little bit of a failure, in many ways, because it was like we didn't make it work. And now we were just like hoping that this business would get us out of debt and pay back everyone who put their money in. Turned out it did a lot more than that. And so we then that was 2019. And then already just in a year and a half, by the end of, I guess that was really a year, so 2 years, because 2019, 2020. By the end of 2020, we bought our parents out. We had paid ourselves back. We bought our parents out and we started paying ourselves as well, just in 2 years. So
Wow.
So you do need money, but there are lots of ways that you can get money. Like, a lot of people are like, well, I don't have money. My family doesn't have money, but, I have a friend who did like a Kickstarter campaign. She got lots of grants and different things to start up. But yeah.
So I'm curious with the monthly subscription box, it was monthly, right? Am I saying that right? Monthly?
Yeah, it was our subscribers, I believe, could choose monthly, quarterly, or yearly, but we did send it out every month. Yeah.
And so that, as someone who did one myself, I know you have to buy the product. So there's that upfront cost and then hope you sell it. So how were the boxes? How was that churn rate for you?
So I think we only ever had a max of like 100 subscribers. So it was like 2 bolts of each fabric, and we would put, I can't remember gosh, it's funny. I don't really remember. I think we would put like 12 maybe fabrics in a box. I can't remember. But we definitely had people come and go for sure. So then you're like, you do feel like you're constantly just trying to find new people and it's not really growing. And it turned out somehow when I did the market research, I did not find the competition that there was, which there's big ones out there, like Fat Quarter Shop has a big one. And then there was actually one in Montana turned out called Quilty Box, which doesn't exist anymore either. But they were actually pretty big at the time. And so it was just kind of like, well, maybe we picked wrong. And then, when Sew Tites, it was like we could literally have a packaged product and we just sell it. We don't have to cut it, and the labor for that. Like, let's go.
Yes, I do know that. So you also mentioned, and this is like that sweet spot that every single entrepreneur out there wants so bad. You found a brand new product in a very old industry. And by old, I mean quilting's been around forever.
Right.
What are in your opinion, I know there's others, and you don't need to share, but do you have ideas of other things? Are there other things that you've thought of that are like, oh, this would be something brand new in the quilting industry? Or do you feel like this was a golden nugget we stumbled upon?
Both really. Like our friend that used to work for us, she calls it the Sew Tites, the Post-it note of quilting and sewing, like so simple, but how nobody had thought of it. I think there were probably people we have had people tell us, like, I've been using magnets to sew, but nobody previously thought to market it, and sell it. And then the cutting system is similar. A lot of people think it's just like, duh, why wouldn't you do that? But when they first heard about it, it was like, what? Life-changing. And we do have one product right now that we're working on. Will work with our products and is new as well in the industry. It's been really hard to get to market. I hope we're going to be able to get it to market later this year. We'll see. It's like this idea has been, I think I originally came up with the idea in like 2019. And it's, again, so simple, but the original idea took a long time to figure out. We couldn't mass manufacture it. So we had to iterate the idea. And it's honestly not, to me, as cool as the original one, but it's still going to function like amazing for people. And so, and magnets in general, like, we also right now, or originally just, we've been targeting the quilting world, but we're expanding into garment sewing, cosplay, leatherworking, tech gear making, which is tech gear and leatherworking are much more of a male, more of a male demographic. And then like our cutting system right now is just imperial, measuring. So we're going to break into the metric market as well, which will make it more international. But as far as products go, yes, we do have one in the works. And then I'm kind of like, if we package this company up and are able to exit it and sell it, then there's lots of opportunity for magnetizing many other things in the world.
True. So I know I'm going to ask, and you probably can't share, but what is this new product that will be coming out?
Yeah, I can't share because it is going to be patentable. And so I can't disclose it quite yet. But we are testing it right now. And in theory, it will be in production and we'll be talking about it by the fall. So, yeah.
Very exciting. So your hopes are to sell Sew Tites one day.
Yes. Yeah, that is the goal ultimately. Yes. I said when I turned 45, I'm turning 43 next month. That's only 2 years away. I still really love it. We're having a great time. My team is enjoying it. I'm given the opportunities. So we'll see. That might be more like we start to look to sell it at 45. But I don't know, too. I'm also like, if I continue to really love it and run, I can work myself more out of it and then start another company. But we'll just see. It kind of depends on what's the best opportunity for everyone involved.
That's exciting. I mean, that's like a whole other part of business that I've never crossed that bridge. I don't know that I ever will, but selling something, like that's a big,
Right.
I'd feel like such a legitimate business if I sold it, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep,
That is
absolutely. I
really
mean,
cool.
it's kind of wild, yeah, to think about. It's partially because I think what we are offering is our tools are amazing and they're very useful and they're actually very adaptive as well. So a lot of people who have injuries and reduced mobility are be able to do the thing that they love again or easier. And I kind of am like, I don't know if us, because we're just a small business, could expand the reach of our products as much as like if a big company acquired us and could take us more. We are working on being international, but we only have so much ability to do that, our knowledge. So, yeah.
Hmm. Are you an Alex Hermosi listener?
Yes, some. Mhm.
Okay. He seems like he knows all about that acquisition and da da da, but
Yeah. Yes.
very
Yeah.
exciting. So I'm curious, since you are in marketing, what's been the biggest driver for growing your business? Mine is, I'm going to guess, word of mouth is
Yeah.
huge, but from your end, like what are things that have been in your control that you have done to grow the business?
So yeah, I mean, obviously, first and foremost is definitely word of mouth. But so we do go to, we were going to only 4 trade shows a year, and now we're going to more. That has been absolutely key for so many reasons, both wholesale shows and retail shows. One is at wholesale shows, you end up meeting other industry professionals. They give you information and tell you things that you like never would have thought of, helps you grow your business or think of things. And then like retail shows, yes, you have sales there, but they're mainly a marketing tool because the most avid people come to spend the money to come to the show. They buy your product, but then they go home and they go to their guild and they tell their friends. So I am a huge believer in in-person trade shows. And then we also, before people were called influencers, we like in 20 well, when we first started, we sent samples to our friends, industry friends. One was Kitty Wilkin. She's Night Quilter on Instagram. She's the one who kind of like thought about using them for English paper piecing, and then she shared that online. We didn't have like a true affiliate program for several years until one day I kept having people ask me, "Do you have an affiliate program?" And I was like, "I guess I should figure out what this is." And because I was like a print and marketing, I was more of a print marketer for many, many years. And so I found a program, and it's still the program we use that we installed on our website, and gives people coupon codes and then tracks those sales, and then we know what to pay them. And that's been amazing for us. I do think it's losing it's still amazing for us. It still makes us so much credibility and sales. But I think influencers on the whole are losing credibility. Like people aren't trusting them as much because they know that they're possibly getting paid for talking about your product. But for the influencers who are really like their content is very educational and they're truly educating people, they are we have several influencers who are making a lot of money talking about our products every year. And I haven't looked at this year and I can't remember if it was last year, but the year before that, I mean, affiliate sales accounted for like 75% of our direct to consumer revenue. So
Wow.
super powerful for sure. Hmm.
Okay, that's really cool to hear. I have
Yeah.
been dying to hear from companies what percentage is their affiliate sales, and most will not tell me. But thank you for sharing that because I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
curious to know how profitable that is. So thank you.
Yeah. And I like, and there's a lot of brands that just do brand ambassadors where they don't really, they don't have a code. They're just sharing and talking. For us, because we're a small business, it doesn't really make sense for us to like pay somebody a whole bunch of money for like maybe, you know what I mean? Like that's a total brand, what you call a brand spend. Whereas when it's an affiliate that the sale has converted and then we've gotten money and then they get paid, that just works really well because it doesn't stretch us too thin. And, I think the affiliates too, it's like if you're working for it, you get paid more.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's a pretty good program for us. We've always had an email list. So we don't spam people. We send like 1 or 2 a month. We have an active social media channel, all these things matter, right? And then we did start doing Google Ads last year as well, which has been actually, we have turns out there was like a globally renowned Google Ads company right in my hometown that I found out about. And that's been really amazing for us as well, especially with last year when it was pretty rough with the tariffs and everything.
Nice. So you have a Google Ads friend in your backyard. That's very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you only went to 4 shows a year. In my mind, I'm like, that's a lot. So, but now you're going to go to more. Can you name the shows that you go to? That's a lot. Like you're going every quarter to a show, but now more.
Yeah. So when we first started, it was obviously like fun for us to personally go to, my sister and I. So we always have gone to QuiltCon. Then we always went to Quilt Festival and Quilt Market, we actually walked the floor for a number of years. We only started having a booth after COVID. Just networking and on the floor worked very well for us. And then when H&H Cologne started, we had a booth starting the second year there. So actually, sorry, I guess that's 4 shows. Yeah. But it was actually before, did I say H&H Cologne? H&H Americas was a thing. It was really only those 3. And then Paducah. Quilt Week in Paducah. We did add that one in. That must have been after COVID. It's just funny. It's like we have been in business now long enough that I'm starting to lose track of when things happen. But and then when we hired our trade show manager 2 years ago, the goal was to get like 1 a month going and to build a team that would work the shows for us, so we didn't have to personally go as much. So now we go to Rhoda, California in January. We have QuiltCon in February. We actually do some sale like consignment. So like shops that carry products, we just send them a bunch of product. They work a show for us and have like a dedicated area for us. That's like Sew Expo, and it's Quality Sewing that does that for us. We're now doing some international shows. So H&H Cologne is the sister wholesale show in Cologne, Germany. We've done that for 2 years now. And then we've tested out a couple March shows, which I don't know if we're going to continue doing them, that there's a certain, we're kind of like testing things to see what fits for best for us. And then Paducah in April, Chicago, H&H Chicago, the wholesale show in May. Right this week, my team is going to Dallas. Actually, I don't really remember what show it is. And then Festival of Quilts in Birmingham in the United Kingdom next month. There's a great Wisconsin quilt show we're testing out some of the new AQS shows as well. And then we're going to do the H&H Fall Edition in Houston, their version of trying to do International Quilt Market. They're kind of still trying to do that. And then we will do Quilt Festival. There's also a leather show called Pendleton Leather that we're doing in Oregon at the end of October. And we're actually going to go to Peru in November for a wholesale show there as well, trying to get into the South American market a little bit. And some Cosplay America. There's some littler shows too there. So just kind of trying to add more and more every year. So, yeah.
So that in person, you have truly found that valuable that it is worth going to as many shows as possible for you to get in front of new customers.
Yes and no. So I'm very we have to do a certain level of revenue at the show for us to go back. So like last year, there was a show in March that we severely lost money on. So we won't go back to that because, I'm sending staff there. They have hotel rooms. They have, people think the booth is what's expensive, but if you're not working it yourself, what's expensive is the food, the hotel, the travel to get there. we're spending $15,000 at a minimum per show just to get there. So we have to make more than that in revenue.
That's interesting. So some shows are just more profitable for whatever reason. What would you say makes a difference on your end?
The size of the show. So it's interesting because I'm like a member of this Facebook quilt vendors group, and many people start out just going to small shows and like testing them out. But for some reason, we just jumped into the deep end and went to the biggest shows in the country and didn't know what we were doing. I mean, like, we didn't know we should have a dolly to haul our stuff. I mean, people were like, it was like kind of a, excuse my language, but a shit show. We've learned a lot since then. But the show doesn't definitely have to be a big show. So, QuiltCon just gets bigger and bigger every year. And it's like our people, because our product serves English paper piecing and lots of things. So our sales just continue to go up at that show. I think their attendance does as well. Quilt Week in Paducah is obviously one of the biggest shows in the nation. So that one does well for us. Same with International Quilt Festival and what used to be Quilt Market. And then, of course, our wholesale shows. Wholesale shows are actually, well, Chicago, just this one this year, actually made us quite a bit. They're actually, a lot of times you lose money on them initially, at least for us, but you get wholesale customers that are going to repeat over and over and over. So again, the long-term investment of it is good. So really only the biggest shows in the country is worthwhile, but there are a lot of them. And so it's just finding the ones that really are big enough and do well enough for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Quilt shows, that's something to think about, especially for the listeners who are thinking, is it worth my time? Is it worth going to? It's really interesting to hear about the wholesale. It may pay off over time, if not right then.
And you can get federal grants for wholesale for shows, both for wholesale and retail shows as well as international shows. So although those funds were just on hold for the last year, but I did just yesterday, we are getting reimbursed. Like, I think we're getting $8,000 back from the federal government, like matching funds for our Cologne show. So your extension agents at your like local universities can usually help you get connected, because it's a federal grant, but it's through your state. And so I think every state has people that help small businesses get those grants.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, that's very helpful. I did not know that.
Yeah, they're specifically for trade shows. There's also, for people who are manufacturers, there are a lot of funds, or there were, TBD if they're going to still be there, for international marketing and trying to increase exports. So although we manufacture in China, we're still considered a Montana and U.S. manufacturer, because we add over 50% of value to our products from shipping from here. So I've gotten at least $10,000 a year for international intellectual property. You can get up to like $30,000 a year, I think, for international marketing, international trade shows, international intellectual property, translation services, testing of your products if your products have to be tested because there's restrictions on them, like if there's chemicals in them or something. So that was something that I didn't know about for like several years in business. And then because I didn't think we would be eligible because we manufacture in China, but turns out we are.
Wow, that's a whole thing I had no idea existed. How would a listener go about finding more information? I mean, just Googling, everything's one Google away.
I mean, Google, yes. But so ours is, and I think it's this way in most states, I think, your state university, so the like ag university, so like in Montana, it's Montana State University, has an extension agents that are working for them, that work with us. I think all of them are extension agents. There's also like like in Montana, there's a manufacturing kind of organization. They can point you probably in the right direction, but you might Google like manufacturing help in my state or something. I don't remember how I initially even found out ours.
I know. I'm like, how did you find out about this? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
And actually now the guy who originally I was connected with and I can't remember how I met him. It might have been through we have an economic development center that has like meetings and different things. I think I met him through there. He's actually an expert. Turns out, didn't know this either till just recently. Even I've known him for years. He's an expert in logistics, like in warehousing. So he's going to help us get our warehouse logistics better and more efficient.
So what would that look like potentially?
So we have only, like, when we started, our products were small. We didn't have many. So we worked in my basement and garage until just the fall of 2022, I think. And then the cutting system's very large. So we got like a shop condo, and now we're in like a bigger unit. And our expanded cutting system is huge. So we can't like store it in a packing station, So we're implementing some software processes to make it so it's easier to train, and there's less. Our staff is amazing. They don't do many missed ships, but just to kind of help reduce that as we grow. So he'll probably help us with where we're storing everything in our warehouse. There's actually, now I've just learned, you should have like aisle numbers, bay numbers, like shelf numbers and you assign your inventory to that. And then when you're picking and packing your orders, you can make your flow so you're picking multiple orders at a time rather than like one and going out and getting that one product and coming back. A lot of products are really small, so they can just pack them right next to him. So he'll probably, all I know is that I have a friend who owns a cookie manufacturing business, and she actually has the facility here in Montana, and she acquired the business. So the business has been running in business for like 20 some years. And he came in and he looked at what they were doing, and he was able to help them save like 5 hours of labor a week, which is
that's
significant over the course of time. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I love people who are just good at what they do. And I mean, you're, marketing and all of that, but all of a sudden you open a business and you don't know what you don't know. And someone comes in and they're like, let me help you. Who knew you needed an aisle number? All these things that,
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun. Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners, someone who is thinking of starting a business, what advice would you give them? What are some of those things you've learned along the way that you're like, let me save you some time and trouble, and remember this?
I mean, I think we've shared some of the nuggets, but my kind of main advice is just like, don't be afraid to fail. Just make sure your failures don't annihilate your business, because you're going to fail. Like, that's inevitable. And like, you do have to have like kind of be okay with like being a little humiliated at times. I mean, we did a collaboration with Tula Pink and did a Tula Pink Sew Tites like in 2021. And the initial order, every single one was falling apart because there was some stuff in the manufacturing that we didn't know about. And that's pretty brutal emotionally to like be working with like the biggest name in the industry and like everything's wrong. But it's all in how you deal with it. So we just took ownership. We're so sorry. We're getting remanufactured. We're going to ship them all out, throw them away, or here's how to fix it. And then we sent coupon codes. I mean, we did like everything. And so it just actually made people more loyal to us. So I would say, and then just like Google's your friend and now AI is your friend, because you can learn a lot from AI, even more so than Google, with like how to do things. And then probably getting plugged into your economic development office and stuff, because they have resources that you don't even know or you need. And for product-based business, definitely having intellectual property, working with the IP attorney. They're very expensive, yes, but worth their weight in gold, because there's not, it's no fun for a business to create a brand and then realize they're like infringing on something and have to change their brand. So you definitely need to do that from the beginning.
Very good advice. So for our listeners who want to check out your product, where should they go to find you?
They can go to our website. So it's SewTites, SewTites.com. And then we're on all the socials as well at Sew Tites if you want to follow us there.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, I love hearing your business journey. I love what you're doing. I can't wait to see where this continues to go and grow. So thank you for taking time to come and be here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's fun to chat.
Jessica, thank you so much for being here on the podcast. Listeners, I hope that you took some notes there. Oh my gosh, there were some amazing, helpful things about getting grants, marketing, going to shows. So I really hope that you loved this as much as I did. If you did, take just a second to go and leave a review for the podcast. It is so helpful to get new listeners on the show, and you're paying it forward. You're helping other entrepreneurs out there in the crafting and quilting world to find this information as well. So take just a second to go leave a review and then go check out Sew Tites, right? What an amazing product. So thank you again, Jessica, and listeners, we will be back again with a brand new episode.